well. And then, like, Faker not being able to step up to Zeka, that doesn't come as too much of a surprise. Gumayushi, I think his Seraphine was definitely considerably worse, but that's not the problem, right? That's not why they're losing these games. I can only hope that for the sake of this series, at the very least in this game, T1 is going to get rid or pick a tiny Yordle that is flexible, that is just generating free gold around the map, and that really has been a big issue. And if they don't, then if they don't B1 it here, it just is okay. Thank God.
There we go.
This was a sign that
option
I can't play it. I'm happy. I'm happy already. This is great.
Well, Ziggs going to be locked in. Not sure where it's going. The Tristana ban is a little quizzical.
It's
perhaps
like Viper Seraph or something completely cursed.
It could be something like that.
Oh.
As Humble Life Esports, they do get access to the Vi. They're going to lock that one in. Could be something like Vi Talia to lock in here on the red side if they would like to, but could also just be taking away a bot lane. They might want to prioritize. Not sure what Viper wants to play. It will be his first game off the Ziggs, and he could be playing the Smolder here if he would like to. Instead, just heavy dive as the Kai'Sa are going to be locked away.
Okay, I don't know about that one. Man, if only T1 had picked 6 before.
Yeah.
Bit of a questionable decision. Kai'Sa has really dropped in priority, and this to me is a sign that Humble Life is going to lane swap, because I don't think you want Kai'Sa in an early lane against the Ziggs. I think in general, it's not great as T1 is just straight up stealing the homework, Atlas, and I love it. I think it's a great choice.
That would be a Yasuo.
Well, it's Zeka, yeah, why not? Yone,
Which
Yasuo.
Wind Brother would you like?
I would prefer the Yasuo, because I think that you can apply threat right from the get-go. But it's Zeka's Yone, so I'm not going to be mad either way.
Yep, I think he can lock in whichever one of these he would like. Something that can put a lot of pressure on the Smolder would be a good idea, and he does cycle back to the Yone eventually. We'll be able to lock that one in. So Humble Life Esports definitely taking a little bit of a different approach here. Certainly so much dive. And with the Vi, I think that the setup for the ultimate from the Yone is going to be a lot more dangerous, and then you can layer a Kai'Sa in on top of it. So a lot of pick potential.
What has also been a consistent theme for Humble Life in this series is that I think they look so much more cohesive. They look very well coordinated, very clean, with exception of Doran, who we haven't really talked about yet, and I think we're going to keep it that way.
Yep.
But the rest of the team, very much on the same page. Obviously, Peanut and Zeka have been performing exceptionally, but I think even the Lights Engages, very much on point. Viper, obviously having a great time on the Ziggs. So, playing a dive composition when you've already shown that you're in great form right now, with these setups, with these snap engages, I think is always going to create a lot of confidence into the Hanwha Live draft. I'm wondering if they want to pick up the Rel is kind of a no-brainer here, is an exceptional engage support, has been winning a whole lot in playoffs as well. And I also truly believe that you, even if you go for the quote-unquote counter pick with the Alistar, which it's a great Alistar, but you can't give the Ziggs team a Rel. Like, just don't do it. Carry a going Alistar, I think, is completely fine. Makes a lot of sense. And there's going to have to be a blind pick here for Zeus. And it's probably just going to be Renekton. I'm just putting it out there.
The Sejuani Renekton.
Or it's like Smolder top and Faker counterpicks the Yone. That's like the only other angle.
Could we have a Wind Brother off? That means that we'd have another brother battle, like we did in the first one. That's really cool if that happens. Well, Camille is another option here. That's a lot of side lane threat for one. Really powerful.
Yeah, I just love Camille when she's picked with Ziggs. I'm a simple man. You know, when you have a lot of overlapping geometrical shapes, even if they're not the same shape.
Oh, yeah, true.
That just works. We saw it with Hanwha in game number 1.
Geometry, baby. That's what gets you across the line. What does Doran do? The Jax Camille battle could be coming in here. That is a lot of hands required. Certainly a fun one, but something that you know, Doran has actually done very well on in the past. I think his Jax has been one of his better champions, but into Zeus, and right now, as far as form is concerned, I'm a little worried.
Yeah, it's also not... I don't think it's one of those matchups that you guaranteed win. Like, if you misplay,
I think
gets ahead.
It's a skill matchup.
Yeah,
right?
I tilted slightly towards the Jax but it's definitely can go either way. And again, it's a very, very snowbally matchup. And one team has Ziggs, who can just be in the sideline by himself and have a very easy roam timer. Or rather, the Alistar can have a very easy roam timer to influence the top lane matchup. It's also one of the picks that does actually work really well with this Sejuani, which I am happy about. And I also think it's just a better champion in this draft than the Renekton would have been, so I'm happy about that. That said, I don't think Doran's form thus far has been great, so him opting into a skill matchup is definitely a bit of a stretch. I just want more gameplay, Atlas. If we get a double 3-0, yesterday's I don't think should come as a huge surprise.
No.
But today, the only one who predicted a 3-0 was Wadid, and I think many of us were expecting at least a game. I hope that this is this game.
I would agree. And now we have to remember, this is where the T1 reverse sweep starts. Right?
I like your optimism. I'm not going to follow, but I do applaud you for your bravery.
Hey, your prediction rides on this, right? You're the 3-2er for T1.
Hey, it's fine. I had great predictions in the regular season. Cancel playoffs. I don't care.
You just really hated being complimented.
Yeah.
So you're just trying your very best to lose them. Let's dive onto the Rift for game number 3.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, we skipped that little moment where we see everyone spawning in, but instead, we're just having a look at the defense systems for everyone. Zeka going to be changing up his skin choice moving into this. There are some players that really like to stick to the one skin. Zeka and Deft is another great example of a player that goes with a different skin every single game. And it's good, bit of extra variety. As Faker is going to grab some stacks from Peanut.
One stack.
There we go.
Immediately.
Grab some stack. Sorry, not some stacks. Just some stack. One little bit of stack. They are walking over a ward. They are well aware of what they're doing here.
Yeah, we're swapping.
Yeah, Gumayushi looking for that swap angle. And Doran, very aware of what's going on here, just going to walk past Zeus. Not sure whether that is the greatest of maneuvers, as he is going to press Counter-Strike and then continue to get auto-attacked and bombed. A very weird series of events there, as Delight is just going to wander in. It is a equestrian battle between the two of them here. A mount-off, if you will.
Yeah, Delight a little bit slow there. It's actually really nicely done here by Owner, which you always want to do in these scenarios. When it's lane swap, is try to secure an early camp on the quote-unquote enemy side of the jungle. Peanut, however, is doing the same thing. That was already warded, so T1 making a good read on that one. And then now we'll just have vertical jungling with neither of the top laners really getting a whole lot. Big thing here is that Zeus was actually in the top lane from the get-go, whereas that wasn't the case for Doran, who just now has arrived. So Zeus is already level 2. And this is something we've seen T1 do a lot, where initially their lane swaps at MSI, I think, were... Even when they started to kind of figure out how to execute them, it obviously doesn't necessarily mesh that well with their style, but specifically putting Keria on the roam while having Zeus get a little bit more experience means that he often in the 1v1 is a little bit better, and when Zeus does well in the 1v1, T1 generally looks a lot more consistent. The downside is T1 knew this, when you swap, you are going to lose out in the play battle because of the resistances. I do think Ziggs makes it a little bit better.
Yeah, maybe.
And it kind of beckons the question, if Can play Ziggs, why not earlier?
Yeah, why not play Ziggs if Can play Ziggs? That is a very good question. Something that we may not necessarily have the answer to. If they do just steamroll this game, utilizing the Ziggs beautifully. If this doesn't go well for T1, then you'll have your answer.
Then we'll know, yeah.
As Zeka just trying to do his best to get as much farm as possible. Once again, you know, Faker on the Smolder going to be pretty happy with how this one's going. As Humble Life Esports will be able to grab themselves yet another plate. And there we go, Doran even getting a little bit of the extra money there. Jumping on top of Keria, avoids the bouncing bomb beautifully this time. And yeah, T1 going to be zoned away from a lot of this experience.
Doran has Demolish as well. So actually getting a lot out of this.
Yeah, headbutt, as Keria just trying to get underneath the turret, so at least they can get some of the experience, as Doran is going to tank a turret shot, but that is another plate going over to this Kai'Sa. And yeah, a bit of an influx of money here for Humble Life Esports, putting them at about 400 gold in the lead. But that's pretty standard
Yeah, it's about
for
what you
these
expect.
lane swaps.
Also, top lane is going to be not great for Doran. Because he's going to have to TP back to his wave, whereas Zeus is going to be able to back and then TP back in. So now the question becomes, can either of the jungle impact his top half? Because yes, I know that the gold for Zeus isn't better, but like his lane state is very far ahead of Doran. Doran just hit level 3, Zeus is halfway through to 5. 6 spike is obviously absolutely ludicrous for the Camille. And Zeus, again, can trade as much as he'd like, because Doran does not have TP. So Humble Life was able to get a lot of gold into Viper, and Doran actually got a decent amount of XP right through XP sharing, also uses Demolish towards the bottom half of the map. But he is going to have to pay for the price for that in the 1v1. Is that enough? Well, that remains to be seen.
It's the classic Doran sacrifice that he does just feel very confident doing, as Ona going to miss the smite, unfortunately. And Peanut is going to be able to take down his big Raptor. So like you're saying, the big winner is going to be Zeus here towards the top side. Even Doran, with that wave bouncing back, wasn't able to get that many minions, as we can see. And Viper now looking to try and get out of the way, as that is going to be a stop on the recall. Don't know whether Doran really wanted to do that, as Zeus is going to hook shot over. And yeah, that's a decent bonk.
Doran,
Yeah.
if Peanut was there, that would have been great, but you don't have TP. And Zeus does.
Well, he does have walk, so he can theoretically go home and do that.
Yeah, if there was a gank timing here like this, that would have been a really good play, but now I just think it kind of misses the mark. Oh, I hadn't had the opportunity to talk about it. Yeah, it makes a lot more sense now. So Viper actually has TP, so no Captain Barry this time around.
Oh, true.
And they TP'd Viper to catch that top wave. Doran's still going to be very, very sad, but Zeus hasn't backed.
Yeah, and he is very, very low. Zeka now in a little bit of trouble, but is able to snap back. Hextech Ultimatum does come down as Mom gets angry as well. A lot of damage there, but there's the flash forward into the crash down. Zeka's going to get interrupted. It's a decent pulverize. Zeus is burning, but he survives. And that is first blood onto Peanut, picked up by Gumayushi. Still, the cleanup is going to be there. Delight likely to fall down, though, in T1. They're stacking up Faker at the same time and collecting some grubs.
And again, they can just TP Camille to whichever wave they'd like. An overextension from Hanwha Life. And T1 getting a win here. Gumayushi is just going to be able to shove in here towards the top side of the map. And the attempt on Zeus's life there, even without his base, doesn't actually end up working out. Really big that he is able to get as much food as he does, dodges the Q, and then has the physical shield. So actually able to stay alive. That was a very optimistic E back in from him. But crucially, Zeka doesn't actually connect with the ultimate, so Zeus stays alive. And then the damage is there. Hanwha Life, with their dive, don't actually get their intended target. And then with the flash, Doran is able to take down the Camille, which is going to feel great for him because he really needed some help.
Yeah, but
that
it wasn't
1v1.
Wasn't quite enough. The interruption on the Fate Sealed by Carrier, absolutely amazing. Turns that into a brilliant pulverize there as well. I think Carrier having a great early game to start this one off as Viper. Yeah, he would have liked to have a Captain Barry opportunity there. Does not have it. Still is going to survive. And even on farm right now, but that is going to change, especially as plates do start to fall down. Gumayushi going to put down the minefield and just start having a really good time. Ona moving down towards his bottom side as Zeus does take not the greatest of trades, but with the Sejuani here, Doran is in a lot of trouble. Peanut to move in, and he is kind of lurking. Information does go over to Ona here. This wraparound could be absurd. They do know that
have E.
Ona is in the area. They know that this is a 2 versus 2. Peanut continuing to bide his time as Zeus moving back to the tri-brush. There is the counter-strike. The chain CC's decent. Cease and assist comes down though, and that's Peanut locking down the kill. The cat and mouse there in that bottom lane, and that 2v2 was beautifully played by Hanwha.
Oh, Peanut just continues to find these moments. That's a pick onto Zeus. That was one of the few lanes for T1 that really was setting up for great success. And now Doran, yeah.
Doesn't go. I would have greeted for the demolish 100%. but I'm glad that he doesn't, because Faker then doesn't get to stack off the Jax and possibly even kill him. And so first straight going to go over to Humble Life Esports here, as that Hex deck is going to be locked down, and Secret Agent Peanut exactly in the right spot.
The problem here, obviously, is like if Zeus' ult, he can actually negate a lot of that damage, but he doesn't. So he just ends up taking way too much upfront burst, so he can't use the power of that Sejuani with the Camille. As yeah, we all knew Delight wasn't really going to be in trouble there.
Yeah, did look annoying.
And now the top lane matchup is just equal, right? 2 assists there for Doran.
I think the items are pretty similar.
Well, actually, Doran has an advantage.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
A whole refillable potion?
I know.
That's crazy. We'll see whether Zeus can go back to base and buy just that to create the equilibrium that we all deserve. As Zeka is still doing a great job, actually ahead by about a wave. Faker having to play some triage around the map, trying to pick up some of these waves that were struggling, especially after that last gank on the bottom side. Rift Scuttler going to be taken here by Viper. We haven't seen too much from him on this champion just yet. See what he's actually going to be able to get done on the Kai'Sa in this game, because we do need to see Humble Life Esports sort of set up for some of these pick-style skirmishes, because so far that hasn't really been the aim of the game. It's been more just laning phase and ganking and stuff like that. When we do finally get some of these moments, we'll be able to see some of the value, perhaps, of this Kai'Sa.
They're setting up a slow push towards the bottom half of the map. A lot of vision being secured as well. I don't think that they can really go for a dive here, but maybe they want to try and play for the turret push. Faker also roaming down towards the bottom half of the map, so that actually would enable a dive. Does get spotted, so Hanwha is very aware of this. Scaria gonna run interference, but yeah, like realistically, some turret plates are the most you're gonna get out of this.
A lot of buttons.
Just clears the wave.
Up and available, and a lot of them miss from Gumishi there as well, so Zeka is still pretty healthy.
Again.
Oh god, we've seen this play before. Faker is rotating down. Delight's already here though. Teleport to come in from Doran or from Viper as both of them turn up. That is a phenomenal headbutt though from Carrier, trying to get them out of there, but Owner is in so much trouble. There's a killer instinct from Viper. He gets the big old shield. Peanut looking for the angle onto Faker, but he doesn't have any more gap close, and Faker's still looking to try and take him down. It's a double now though, and he just walks too far. Doran shuts down the Smolder, and Humble Life Esports win the fight.
The coordination from Hanwha proves supreme again, Atlas. As the TP comes in from Doran. Looks initially like they are down a member, and T1 take a big risk trying to force this play, even though it is being read. And it just backfires immensely. Now a Viper further ahead. The fact that that was a 4 versus 5. But T1, they're already so far up, they just don't really have the opportunity to get out of here. As you point out, they're able to make this last for a little bit, but like Faker isn't online yet. If that Smolder has damage, this could be a really big moment, but it just isn't. And then here, I think, understandably, T1 want to try and salvage it with Faker. You just need to back off, right? Like, if you stay near Guma, Carrier's always going to die, but giving over another kill to Doran for a kill that you're just not going to get, chasing after Peanut, it's just a big mistake. And now the gold lead firmly in favor of Humble Life. The one upside for T1 is that they're now in basically the opposite position that they were last time around, where they have Smolder and Ziggs. So it's not quite the same in that they need to win these early games. But I think Humble Life, their coordination has been so good. And the one thing that I do think you struggle with Ziggs and Smolder is well-coordinated dive. And Hanwha has a lot of that, Atlas.
They do, and they also have...
Viper would be big.
Yeah, Glacial Prison going to go wide there. Also supercharges out of the way of the Winter's Wrath, and that means that he's going to be A-OK. No flash required.
He doesn't have cleanse. That would have been a kill. Or at the very least, force a flash. It's not happening. And Hanwha Life get the objective here as well. The TP Zek at the top, got the shove there.
That's going to even out the Grubs here, and means that both the Camille and the Jack's going to be on even footing as far as those side lanes are concerned. And moving towards this mid-game, we do have the Scryer's Orb does give T1 the knowledge that this is going down. But moving into the mid-game, we've got a Jax and a Camille on basically parity. There are 2 Ruby Crystals for Doran in advantage, but we also have Doran on 0 deaths and 100% kill contribution. Like that wasn't on my bingo card at all.
What does it mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Obviously, main character, once again, is Peanut.
He's been pretty good.
He has been really good, Atlas.
And of course, the way that it's supposed to go, guys, and the way the script writers have put this together is that T1 goes into the lower bracket earlier, and last time around, Life Esports, it was a 3-0
It was.
in the first matchup, and then T1 comes back, you know, they get a little bit of extra practice against D+, taking them down in a difficult series, and then they'll 3-1 Life Esports on their way to the finals. Chronicle, don't worry, it's all still set up. Cloud Salt is going to be coming in as well, my personal favorite. You're going to run real fast. And that feels great, but we'll just see whether T1 can weather the storm, because this time they're not the ones with all of the onus on them. Life Esports need to close this one out. They have been able to do that in our first 2 games, albeit after some shenanigans, especially in game 2. And I think the harder they make them work for it, the better this is going to go.
Okay, Viper.
Yeah, let's not walk into the bombs anymore. Maybe he was just testing it, you know, to see how much damage he takes as Hookshot going to come out.
I'd also love to hear the opinion of the space on this, but if there is a game where you're allowed to go Zerefs, this is really one of them. You are playing into a lot of dive. Like, Zerefs actually, you do get a good amount of value out of it.
Yep. I thought you said you're allowed to play Xerath, and I'm like, why would they play? They can't play Xerath because everyone's locked in their champions.
Yeah, that's not a champion. No, I mean, Zerefs.
Yeah, he is. If you play in low ranks, Xerath is always there. Don't you worry.
Xerath?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all been there.
It's the worst.
Yet another cool Shuriman guy, which we all know
there we go.
Atlas is a big fan of.
I do like my Shurimans. I think if I was to play the Riot MMO when it comes out in 2057, I'm definitely going to start as a Shuriman character.
So I hope I'm not Ionia, but I feel like the weeb in me is going to I really love Freljord and Mount Targon, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm worried about myself.
I think you'll probably be an Ionian. Maybe I will too. You never know. Maybe I'll just, the way of the sands will not be for me.
What's more edgy? Is it Ionia or Shadow Isles? Because I know
Shadow Isles is way more edgy. But I mean, I've seen the reviews for the Crow that recently came out, so I feel like the stocks are down.
But Yasuo also feels very edgy.
Yeah, that's true.
Diego
is just edgy. We're going to have a look at Yone here, though. He's pretty edgy himself. He's possibly walking into a trap, but does unbind his soul before he does so. Faker just going to take a bit of damage, but also get a couple of stacks. And it's 16 minutes into the game, sitting on 169 right now.
That's not bad pace.
Yeah, pretty nice stacking so far.
Good enough. Looking like we should be able to hit that 225 at around. And if he stays on course, about 22 to 24 minutes. Only died once, so in that regard is going to be helpful. We do have Homa Life again, setting up these very proactive plays already, invading as a unit, getting control and seeing if some poor soul walks up. And yet another reason as to why Ziggs is just really good.
Yeah, the side lane control, certainly something that he does excel in.
Still hasn't lost a game in playoffs, Atlas.
Nope. 7 in a row so far. There hasn't been that many games.
I still can't believe. Yeah, okay, but some of those games were like BNK and...
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, yeah, the main ones that I'm focusing on are the fact that, like, Pay's played at, what, 3 games in a row?
He did also look like the best one.
Yeah.
But that's fake data. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not fake data. He was also just allowed to play it 3 games in a row. So I think, I mean, T1 were not the only team that was struggling to figure out a way to counter the champ, because if you do manage to mitigate it, it gives you so much breathing room in these drafts. And T1 knew that they had to be able to win a game on red side to be able to take this series, right? Just because Life Esports did get side selection to start this one off. And so you can understand exactly why they sort of left it up, because it's just not a lot of room when you're playing against Peanut, who needs to have, like, deforestation to start things off, as Doran possibly in trouble here. The teleport to come in, or teleports, but no. Vipers is on cooldown. Zeka is going to turn up. Delight in perfect position once again to play interference.
I was actually really hoping, as Guma just accused himself, that they would TP Guma in and just satchel, which would have been so cool.
Yeah.
It's like the turret's just gone. They get the turret anyway. I didn't really need to do that, but...
He also wanted to be defending the outer turret in the mid lane that Viper is putting a bit of pressure on. Looks like the inner turret is not going to be on the minds of T1, but able to pull back that gold advantage by about 400 as a result of that turret going down. Still Viper just happily farming. Does have his static shiv completed already. We'll see what he's going to be able to complete now. I think 2-item spike to come in. 191 on the stacks here for Faker, really starting to build that one up. This was about where 225 was being hit by Zeka in his last Smolder game, but of course a very different story when you're against a Yone, who's a lot more mobile and annoying than Nasus is. Zeka is just going to dive in and look for a bit of an angle.
He's
here.
got aura on his Chovy, or on his Yone, man. The only one,
yeah,
well, that's as I was going to say, the only one with more aura is Chovy, which doesn't come as too much of a surprise. 2-item spike been hit for both Guma and for Viper. Herald going to go down mid. This is a must-win, I think, for T1, but Faker isn't that strong just yet. The light on a deep flank angle. T1 can still give this one up and just play for mid lane turret, but I think they really shouldn't. And they land a lot of poke. It's going to be one of the main things. And the light, he is still behind enemy lines.
Flank.
I think they have a suspicion because Zeus is trying to snoop. Nope, just going to go. And oh, they don't have a lot of vision there. We see some question mark pings. I think they know.
Well, Peanut is
there
walking
he is.
to the back of the pit. In comes Delight now as the Arctic Assault is going to miss. And now Peanut wants to find a priority target. Crashdown is going to be interrupted there. And Glacial Prison comes through as well. Zeka looking for the angle, but he isn't going to pull the trigger just yet. And now Viper going to get ultimatums. Zeka does find the angle though, and there is the ulti to come through. Mom comes down as well. Viper thrown around the battlefield. They take down the Ziggs, but Faker is still at full health. And Zeka can't get on top of him. Peanut gets a huge shield though. Still the sneezing comes through, and Doran just picks up a triple kill out of nowhere. That's an ace, and they're like, oh, heck with the dragon. We'll go take a Baron.
It's Doran that comes up huge together with Zeka as T1 makes a colossal mistake, goes way too deep for Viper. Just walks into melee range of the Jax, and guess what? No one on T1 can deal with that. And it starts off basically as a dream. Yeah, Oner misses his Q. Yeah, they use a lot of cooldowns, and I think especially that Ziggs ult maybe wanted to hold on to that one. But this looks like a dream. You take the engage away, and then here, crucially, they go in, but there's no follow-up onto Viper. So, starts off with a great ultimate, and then Guma just gets immediately blown up in the fight, doesn't get to do any damage, and then Faker's alone, but Faker's alone against Jax.
Oh, Doran.
And against Yone, so he just doesn't really get to do any damage. Doesn't have a stacks yet either.
나이스 형님들.
I imagine like, thanks guys.
Yep, and thanks Doran there as well. But also, like, at the start of that fight, Delight ate so many cooldowns.
Yeah.
And so kind of still did his job. All things considered, as there's a flash forward. They do manage to lock up Viper here, and they will be able to mitigate a lot of the push. Zeus now moving in. It will be the dragon taken, so Soul Point is going to come on through. Great knock-up. There's the Glacial Prison going to be eaten here by Humble Life Esports, but now Delight. Crashdown comes on back in. The ultimate, and it is just Zeka taking control. How do they make these things happen? Carrier, he's almost out of cooldowns. He finds one last Pulverize, but this fight is done. And even without Viper there, they still roll over the top. This is probably the best day of League of Legends Zeka has ever had. And he won Worlds in 2022.
Yeah, and also we're coming in, we're like, oh, Doran, yeah, another great series. What have you been doing, my man? And
just
Jax,
still 100% kill contribution, by the way.
Jax does have an incredible amount of power in this draft. Again, Counter-Strike is insanely strong, but T1, I was fumbling these team fights. Humble Life is straight up outplaying them again. Mud invested into killing Viper, but I think that's fine. As T1, they're just not respecting, and they're lining up. Look at this, as you point out, all on their way, trying to make it happen, and then Delight sets them up, and then the free. That's it. That's the end of it. Like,
and the cease and desist keeps them CC'd for so much longer because of the knocker side. Oh man!
One of Zeus, one of Zeus, Faker, or Guma needs to be alive because they don't have damage otherwise, and they just keep getting like triple man ulted. And Humble Life, they're just straight up outplaying them. And now, for what looked like a pretty okay game state, like this game's done. Yeah, I know they have Smolder and Ziggs. I know Smolder's hit his stacks. I don't think it matters. I think that this is a insanely dominant 3-0 sweep unless T1 get the comeback, the likes of which we haven't seen yet this playoffs.
That's what they're relying on if they want to keep this series alive. Life Esports looking to repeat what Gen G did yesterday and make the upper side of this bracket look very, very powerful here in the LCK. Teams waiting in the wings will mean that T1 not out of it. If they lose this game, they will have to face off against a D+ that did just struggle against Gen G yesterday. An opponent that they have been able to dispatch more recently than not. Life Esports have been able to best T1 both times of asking here this season, and look at that gold advantage. 3.7K for Doran. That is a ludicrous amount of money. All right, Blast going to try and get them back in here as there's the Void Seeker. Viper taking matters into his own hands, and Goomer's just dead. There is nothing that they could do about it. Now Carrier's in trouble. The Fate is going to get sealed, and even is able to queue out of the way of the Glacial Prison that was lying in wait. They are still taking a bit of damage here as more Void Seekers funnel on through. But this is going to be even more money going over to Life Esports. That 10,000 gold gap is very close approaching. Sitting at 9K right now, and Peanut going to be able to get rid of all of this vision. Look at the vision line encroaching onto T1.
As we take a look here, it's a classic. You just want to get that satchel. Really, I'm very happy that Guma is showing us some of the weaknesses of the sticks. You gotta be able to say no to getting that turret Atlas. This is the problem, is that if you do have the type of composition that doesn't just sit around and has to watch you slowly poke you down with the Smolder, with the Ziggs, but you're on the front foot, you're the one engaging continuously. He all of a sudden looks a lot worse. Like, yeah, Faker's hit his item spike, but Life sitting on Soul Point, sitting on 9,000 gold lead here. Basically an item up across the board. And they don't, it's not even like they don't have range, because Viper can just fire these Void Seekers. Outside of Owner, everyone else going to be, I guess Carry has warm also, but everyone else going to be very unhappy if they face tank one of those.
And look at Doran as well, recognizing that they don't have the most amount of magic damage.
Yep.
The Abyssal Mask comes in just to try and buff up Viper, who does have his Nash's Tooth now completed. Zeka does some mixed damage as well, so
yeah,
kind of some value there.
Between Jax, and Doran probably going to go Zhonya's next. So like between Jax, who has a good amount of AP scalings, the Yone...
Zhonya's fourth feels kind of unfair, right? Because it's like all of his items kind of do more damage, but they're also kind of tanky.
It does actually feel very unfair, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the most unfair part is the 4,000 gold lead that he has individually.
It helps.
Yeah.
It helps.
I would say so.
It's a good outfit for Humble Life. That's what it comes down to, Atlas.
If he was to write a guide, would the first part of the guide be get 4,000 gold ahead, or would the first part be like what to build and stuff like that? Because I think the most important part in this game is the gigantic snowball that Humble Life Esports has built.
I was trying to get back to fashion analogies.
Ah, what would the fashion analogy be?
Well, I don't know. I was kind of hoping you would give me an opening, but
I thought that was an opening. It was a bit ham-fisted. However, I would say that it was probably an opportunity for you to go for it. That is going to be Cloud Soul picked up here by Life Esports. And yeah, it's a lot of money on Viper. He's got 300 CS here.
It's just an everything gap.
It is.
Atlas, it really is. Like, looking at how these fights play out, Humble Life clearly have woken up very, very sharp here today.
And oftentimes, like, when this year started, not even this season, when the year started, we looked at Life Esports and said, wow, okay, there's the cease and desist. Killer Instinct comes down. Gumiushi this time can go golden, but Delight is going to be here, and Viper just pops him. That is going to be Owner now in trouble. The Crashdown still gets the CC, even with the headbutt, and they're still going. Faker, he's going to go golden, but that is just to watch as the bad guys encroach. He can't get through the base gate as Doran's going to be able to lock him down. That is Viper dead once again, but he's been bait this whole game. And as he hook shots away, he is going to be able to get some funny business done, but the flash forward, and then the counter strike. And I think he is just dead. That's going to be the ace. And Life Esports, I think they're just going to say top of the morning to the series here as they look to push in for the win.
And Gen G remains a formidable opponent, Atlas. but you really couldn't ask for more from Hanwha Life, showcasing that they are, in fact, and by a seemingly insurmountable margin, the second best team in the LCK. Because what this team is showing here today, compared to what T1 has brought, what DK brought us yesterday, it's just not enough. As Doran, very nice little showcase there of the interaction. Counter-Strike reducing AoE damage.
Yep, Carrier is looking for a bit of an angle here. They're not able to kill him. Owner is going to walk in though, and teleports are coming down. Voidseeker not going to find the mark, and that would have been a killer instinct immediately there from Viper. He has no regard for his own life whatsoever. He just wants to start fights, and I do love that about him. They are now going to look for the Baron, and I don't know whether T1 going to be able to do anything about it. If ever there's a time for a Hail Mary, though, it is right now. Voidseeker going to connect onto Owner as Zeka never mind, he's absolutely fine. Unbinds the Soul, and Peanut going to get headbutted back. But now Doran looking for the angle, doesn't get the counter-strike as Gumiushi. He's able to flash to get himself out. That is a decent ulti, though, and Doran just goes golden. The cease and assist comes down, and now it's Viper at full health, just massacring them. And the Wallets, they come down hard. And that is going to be another ace. And that will finally be the win here for Hanwha Life Esports.
Clean ace, Atlas! As Hanwha Life stamps an end to this game and this series.
And a perfect game for both Doran and for Zeka. Incredible performances from the solo lanes in this one, but Zeka, this series for him, I mean, this is his magnum opus. This was absolutely gorgeous from this player. Viper as well having a great last team fight, but it wasn't about the bottom lane. It was about the solo lanes here from Hanwha Life, and that is not what we often expect from this team.
It really was. I don't know who between Doran and Zeka is going to get it, but I
think Doran for the vibes, Zeka for the gameplay.
I mean, even Doran, like, he was put in a very unadvantageous position, and he clawed his way back out of it. The way that I wasn't expecting coming into today. And I wasn't expecting based on the first two games. That's the enigma of Doran, I guess. But yeah, the mid-jungle, right? Peanut and Zeka here today, both having absolutely stellar series. And that game 3 showcases that I think we were right to question the drafts. But when the level of play has gaps that big, draft just doesn't seem to matter a whole lot.
No, and I think, you know, their answer to the Ziggs was decent, right? Like the, let's just dive it relentlessly.
Just murder him.
Yeah, and that worked out. Because over and over again, you know, it was Viper just ulting in. Even if he died, didn't matter. Because they managed to start the fights. And then when you can use Cease and Desist as a follow-up rather than an engage, it really does layer the problems on top of T1. Delight also having a pretty good one here today, but wasn't the main character. It was all about Peanut setting things up for both Zeka and Doran to knock them down, and knock them down they did over and over again in this series. This last game, definitely the more impressive one, especially for Doran there after being a bit of a handbag in the previous. But it was a lot of different strings shown here from Hanwha Life, especially with the Ziggs picked away from them, being able to play into it and showing that it's very difficult to play into if you're piloting it. That is a very, very powerful thing.
Also, again, Peanut, man. What a day.
Oh, yeah.
What a day of gameplay from this man. Has been one of the top-tier jungles in the LCK. But it's the transition from way back when he used to be the guy that would play the big carry picks to now just having such an incredible mind for the game.
I don't know how his head holds all of that brain, Chronicler. He is just very, very good at knowing exactly where to be. Today was definitely his day, though, and he is one of these players that is known to have his day. Doran has his game, right? He can sort of turn on a dime, but sometimes Peanut wakes up and he's just not feeling it. Today, he was feeling it, and he ran the rift over and over again. This ulti from Zeka was just game-winning. Yeah, that engage from Delight, just clipping Faker there at the end. If Faker flashes that and he gets a couple more Qs off, could be a completely different scenario, but this was the all-in. This was the Hail Mary. If they kill him there, negate the Red Bull Baron power play, maybe it's playable, but it just wasn't meant to be. And then this, at this point, we knew. You called it the Hail Mary, knew this was going to be a beatdown. Yeah, and T1 did actually a better job in this fight than in a lot of the others. But Doran being able to just press the Sonya's button, Gumiushi also out of position when he presses his. And they take them out one after the other. Even the Camille unable to really do anything. And let's end. And good job, everyone. Some celebrations, and I think also feeling like this wasn't over until it was over, right? You can see Zeka still pretty serious here as they look to close this one out, making sure that they just kill the Nexus and move on, knowing that Gen.G is going to be a very tough opponent waiting for them in the next round. This one, though, was pretty elementary from Homalife Esports, and T1 now to face off against D+. And I mean, both D+ and T1 really did struggle in their last two matches. Chronicler, which one do we think is going to be able to take it in that losers bracket?
I do think they both learned, T1 in the series, and I think DK after, they learned the lesson that Ziggs is better than Nasus, and that's really, that's all I can say about that series. That is going to be
the result of these
one.
back-to-back 3-0s is Ziggs over Nasus.
Yeah.
That's it.
What's your takeaway?
Yeah, no, probably about that. No, I reckon you nailed it. I think you absolutely nailed it. I just wanted you to double down to make sure that we knew exactly what was going on there. But I guess we've got some gentlemen waiting alongside that can also tell us what some other results are, potentially, of this series. So let's throw it over to the space and listen to their breakdown of the series.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Dear for the post-match interview translation, joined by Homalife Esports, the winners of the second match of round 2 in the 2024 LCK playoffs, brought to you by Woody Bank. Let's hear from Doran, Peanut, Zeka, Viper, and Delight. Congratulations! First off, Doran with a 3-0 victory and a winner's bracket secured. How do you feel? In the preparation process, we did know that it wasn't going to be easy, but I believe that we played the game thinking that the opponent actually came pretty prepared, even for drafting. So I'm just really relieved that we were able to win. And in game 1, you picked Vladimir, which wasn't really played for 894 days. Despite so many diverse champions being played this meta, Vladimir was a first. So what made you pick him? I believe that he was a really good pick against Kennen. And with so many different champions that we were able to see right now, I think Vladimir is actually one of them, one of the really good picks that you're able to pull off this meta. And now you will advance to the winner's bracket and face Gen.G with the one-way ticket to the finals on the line. What is your resolution? Based on my experience playing in the playoffs, you know, being able to go directly into the finals is actually a huge help, and it actually does bring you a lot of comfort. So I really hope that we can make it. And Peanut, a clean 3-0 victory. You were the POG in games 2 and 3. So did you have a good feeling on your way to the venue today? Well, as for the good feelings, I didn't really think of that, but I came today thinking we must win. I think that was just a really mindset that I came with that helped. And the draft you prepared against T1 were quite effective today, so what was the preparation process like? You know, we considered a lot of jungle bans for today's match. And in terms of the meta, even with a lot of jungle bans, I think there were a lot of different picks that we can actually manage to pull off, so that's what we were focusing on. And you pulled off so many cracked pathing today. Both the casters and analysts were so impressed. So what was the main focus in the jungle pathing for today's match? For today's match and all the jungle paths, I think that's just something that I have been preparing and practicing a lot, and that actually did pay off a lot during today's match. What is your goal for the winner's bracket? We will be facing Gen.G, and I want to make sure that we are ready to take them down. Please give it up for Peanut. And next up is Zeka. In the preseason interview, you mentioned that your hometown is Pohang, which is close to Gyeongju City, and that's why you have to go. And now that you have secured a spot in Gyeongju with today's victory, how do you feel? It makes me so happy to get a victory, a 3-0 victory. And yeah, I mean, it's really close to my hometown. I'm very happy that I'm able to go so close to my home. And in game 1, you played Yone, who handled Lee Sin and LeBlanc's ganking and how they focused you down, and you handled it with such grace. So are you satisfied with your gameplay today? I feel like a lot of things that I did worked out really well, and I went into the game thinking that as long as I played defensively and survived, that we would be able to win pretty easily, and it worked. And the winner's bracket against Gen G, how will you prepare for that? I feel like the structure of the playoffs for the summer is kind of similar to spring, so I want to make sure that we're able to make it to the finals this time around. And next up is Viper. With the 3-0 stomp, you have advanced to the winner's bracket. How do you feel? First of all, I didn't expect that we would win 3-0. And I really wanted to win, and I think we did a really good job today. I think everything went according to plan for today's match. And after prioritizing Ziggs in games 1 and 2, you picked Kai'Sa against Ziggs. So how do you think the drafting went? So currently, Ziggs is a really good meta pick. And honestly, I don't really like playing him, but because of how good he is, that's why I had to end up going with him. And in the last game, seeing the opponent take Ziggs, I think we just had a really good answer against that, so we were able to pull it off. And pace is also quite solid on Ziggs, so what are your predictions on the matchup? In the last match, Gen G was actually able to utilize Ziggs and made it really tough against their opponent, so I want to make sure that we are prepared to go up against Gen G. Let's give it up for Viper. And next up, we have Delight. Delight, what did you consider as the most important point of today's match? There was a very clear direction that our team had, and really wanted to make the right decision in every moment. And the opponent brought out diverse picks such as Seraphine and Shen. So what was your plan to deal with them as a support? Yeah, so a lot of the things that pro players play in the solo queue is something that they also bring out in scrims. So I think we had pretty much expected that they would play something like that. So we were just ready to counter that. So what is your goal for the rest of the playoffs? I want to make sure that we wait for everyone else, our opponents, in the finals. And going back to Peanut, the team captain, any shout out to the fans and how much their support means to you? You know, last spring we were able to win against T1 with a 3-0 score, but we didn't have a good result. So we want to make sure that we're able to come back and deliver a good result this time around. Thank you so much for your support. And that's the end of the post-match interview with the players of Hana Life Esports, and back to the space. Thank you.